about 20 minutes. Is that right still? Or should I shorten it further? But you've really seen, I brought some images because I wanted to share in the most vivid way I know how. The most vivid way to share information about this work is, of course, to bring people to the work, not just to Haiti, but we work in places all over the world. I'll mention a little bit about it. And that's really why I'm here today, is because I was lucky enough to travel with some people from Columbus, from Greif, and whose families are, in fact, Julie's related. I just found out to one of the people I traveled with, Scott Griffin. We traveled to Haiti and said, hey, we don't have the answers to all these problems, but we know that you should get involved, that anybody can get involved. Obviously, the main persons in a place like Haiti to be involved are the Haitian people themselves. But everybody needs what we call at Partisan Health accompaniment, right? And I'm going to show you how we use that word accompaniment in our medical work. But I want you to think about how accompanied I might feel right now, today, seeing that video, knowing that this very pressing concern, that is unaccompanied children with serious handicaps in a public hospital where there wasn't the ability to care for them, knowing that existed, and this is before the earthquake, and knowing that wasn't enough. I'm going to tell you a little story about accompaniment, or several stories about accompaniment, but think about how I feel right now, seeing that video and knowing that my friends are here. My friends from Columbus, of course, my new friends. You're my new assistants. You guys are my retirement plan. So let me just start, and I will keep this short. Who knows what hour it is here, but I can see where can I have the next slide? Now, part of it is getting started. A lot of people here in a high school, and many of those watching have, as you heard from Julie, already mentored kids in kindergarten. And you saw in Haiti some of the people your age or a little older, or, all the way to my age and Bill's, mentoring, helping others help other people, right? So accompaniment, it comes from, it doesn't matter where it comes from, it means breaking, it comes from a word, means breaking bread together, but what we think of it as is walking together. Now, I first went to Haiti, not when I was in high school, or much less in middle school, but when I was just graduated from college. So I was 23 years old. I went to, someone's got on a Duke sweatshirt over there. I went to Duke. Yes, he does have a Duke sweatshirt. And I went from a small town in Florida, not a big city like Columbus, but a small town in Florida, to college. I don't know that I'd ever flown on a plane before. I will not go into my modes of transportation to get here today. And it was a wonderful experience to go to college. I got it from the very first year. Meaning I understood how lucky I was to go to college. And, a lot of you might not feel that way right now. Hopefully all of you do. You don't look like a captive audience. But by the time you get to college, I think most people understand, boy, here I am in an island of privilege. I was teaching at Harvard yesterday morning, and one of the students, this is in office hours after a class, it's a college class. I usually teach medical school or teach young doctors. And she said she was very anxious about getting involved in the work because there's just so much work to do. And I said, well, I understand anxiety very well, but we're in this island of privilege here. It's not like someone's going to be shooting at your dorm tonight. Now, I don't know if that was a good thing to say in the middle of office hours. Some of the teachers are laughing, hopefully with me, not at me. But I didn't understand this when I was your age. I didn't understand it when I went to Haiti. And this is a picture. I tried to find a picture from 1983, but I ended up, let me just tell you the story, not the way it was told in, say, the 60 Minutes video or some of my writings. My first year in Haiti was a disaster. I've shared this with Bill and David, but not that broadly. Because for many years, you want to describe your own engagement with the problem as, wow, that was great, right? You guys know, you've been involved in service work, and many of you have traveled, but actually it wasn't really that great. In terms of what we did and the outcomes for the people we were serving that first year, I was in between college and medical school, not much to speak of. Let me describe it for you. I went to a clinic in a city, and try to remember the name, near Albany. So Sami Beni, which you just saw, is not too far from the airport and not too far from the quake zone. And it was a miracle, by the way, that all of those handicapped children or unaccompanied kids, it's a miracle that they survived the earthquake, because the hospital and a lot of things crashed down all around them on the day of the earthquake. But they did. They all miraculously survived. Anyway, back to the map. I'll show you a map of Haiti in a few minutes. I went to a town, Mirbalais, through the kind of happenstance that one sees in life, just by accident. So I wanted to go one place. They said, "Well, we don't need you. We don't need an untrained future physician at our hospital." So the first place I asked to go to, they said no. They didn't really need me. The third place, I don't know how many times I tried to find some place to spend this year that I was committed to spending in Haiti, but I started working with a Haitian priest. I still work with him today. Bill knows him, David too probably. So he was based at that time, he had a parish, Episcopalian priest, he was based in that city, Mirbalais, and had a clinic. And he said, "Well, you could volunteer in the clinic." I said, "That'd be great. That's just what I want to do." So I learned how to take blood pressures. I was just a physician's assistant, meaning not a real physician's assistant, but someone assisting the physician. Now, who was the physician? The physician was a young Haitian doctor. And what we saw every day, he had no skilled assistants, because I wasn't skilled, didn't have a proper nurse or a pharmacist, but what we did have was hundreds of patients who would line up to see this young guy who, of course, couldn't bear the burden of it. It just was too much work. I kept on thinking, well, I'm going to get out of here, and I'll be going to Harvard Medical School in the fall. How bad could it be? And I kept on psyching myself into believing this is a great experience. We're doing a good thing. It took me probably 5 years to even think maybe we weren't doing a good thing, and 10 years to say we didn't do anything good, and we may have caused some troubles as well. The clinic wasn't well laid out. The medications weren't the wrong ones. People had to pay for the medications, and if you're paying for something that isn't good for you, I call that bad. And again, the doctor got burnt out. Guarantee you, he couldn't take it for long. And we were very good friends. We'd finish, and I have to admit too, I would be praying for clinic to be over every day. It was hot, it was sweaty, there was too much noise. When I say we did more harm than good, I hope that wasn't true, but it could be true. Let me give you one example that I never thought of when I was 23 years old and hadn't even gone to medical school. What if you have patients coming into this crowded place and they have an airborne disease like tuberculosis, and they're coughing over everyone? You've just created a place where tuberculosis gets spread, and you're not even sure you're doing a good enough job palliating suffering, much less saving lives. So that's what it was like. And that's why I'm showing you this picture.